Broads Media.
How is this possible? How is this possible? The team doesn't even play anymore because they got their ass kicked and they're not even in the playoffs, yet they still find ways to literally piss me off. Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thomson just arguably had one of the most pathetic press conferences in the history of sports. And this is in the same week that my head coach of my football team had to respond and apologize for yelling at fans behind the bench. What a world! How come everything is going so south for this damn city right now? Paul George gets injured in a preseason game. He hyperextends his knee. Why can't we have some solid success? That's all I'm asking for right now. I want a team that can comprehend that they aren't good enough. I want a team that knows that changes need to be made. And I hate to break it to you, Phillies fans. This group, this front office, they don't seem to see it. No firings on the staff at all? How? How does someone not lose their job for this team failing in the postseason for multiple years in a row? I don't care if it's technically someone's fault or not. Kevin Long needs to be fired. Keeping Rob Thomson isn't the end of the world. The whole extension thing, signed through 2026. They don't want a manager being on his final year of the contract, whatever. Look, Rob Thomson has flaws. The way I describe Rob, he's Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber has flaws, but Kyle Schwarber is solid as hell. I think Rob Thomson is solid. He has flaws. I don't always love his messaging. But I don't think the biggest issue was Rob, and I don't think he definitely 1,000% needed to be fired. What 1,000% definitely needs to happen, though, is change. So if Rob stays, then others have to go. Whether it's roster, whether it's coaches, and quite frankly, it should be a combination of both. And do not be an idiot. Listen to me. Do not be an idiot. Do not feel like the reason Kevin Long stayed is because of Juan Soto. Do you see what the Yankees are doing right now? Do you see what the Mets are doing right now? Juan Soto is staying in New York. I'd be stunned if he leaves the Yankees. Why would he leave those teams that are going farther than the Phillies? They will open up their checkbooks just like John Middleton would. I am not going into this offseason with these high expectations to land Juan Soto, especially when Dave already said, we have how many All-Stars here? We have how many guys in position? It's not happening. I have no confidence moving forward because you're not changing anything. And there was a really damning quote from Topper that said, we have to get these guys to buy in to using all the field. And then, some names were brought up, Kevin Long, Trey Turner, and he said, yeah, Kevin Long's been pushing. Well, hold on. Let me get this straight. You're telling me that all of these people are telling guys on the roster that you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you can't chase the same way and you have to now convince them to buy into it? Ooh, this is Trey Turner's third season here. It's year 3. So start getting guys out of town. I mean, seriously, what are we doing here? We can't get what we need out of them? Get out! I get it. Trey Turner has a no-trade clause in his contract and all that stuff. But to me, it sounds as if they've been trying to do different things with all these guys, and it hasn't really worked out. And it probably hasn't worked out because of something I've been talking about for a while, which is Schwarber's how old? Nick is how old? Trey is how old? There's not much you are going to overwork or change because they've already been cemented into the sport of baseball with a certain approach since probably 10 years ago. This is who they are. And this is who they are isn't good enough. So you have to make trades. You have to get new faces here from top to bottom. And here they are being blindsided by whatever in the playoffs. Going, I couldn't see that coming. How could you not? How can you be blindsided when it's pretty clear and obvious that you don't have the answers right now anywhere? You don't have the answers at shortstop. You think you do. Hey, Dave, all the defensive metrics. Well, the defensive metrics aren't real. Yes, they are, Dave. He sucks at shortstop. You don't have answers in the outfield. You don't have answers on why the bullpen wasn't working in the playoffs. You know, Dave said, well, it was 1-0 in game one. In the regular season, we would have won that game. Okay. This isn't the regular season, Dave. Some guys are built for the moment. Other guys shrink. Some guys know how to get it done. Other guys get exposed. I don't give a damn what happened game 55. Did you get the Mets out? And don't even get me started when Dave started to look at the Mets and the chase rate to justify how good some of these hitters really are. Like, what? Well, the chase rate, I keep hearing that phrase, but if you compare them to the Mets, they actually did a better job. Hold on. You watched both of those teams play. And your takeaway was, damn, the Phillies are so much better at not chasing than the New York Mets. You do not look at me in the face, piss on my leg, and tell me it's raining, damn it. That is a flat-out disgrace. That's not what we want to hear. Somewhere, Nick Sirianni is smiling, saying, hallelujah, thank you, Dave, thank you, Rob, for taking heat off me. Because during the time of this press conference, Vic Fangio's going, I don't know why Nick is saying he's calling plays. He ain't calling plays. He just said, watch out for the screen. But I'll get more into that at a later time because I got too much on my plate right now with this mess. So what are they going to do? Go win 90 games again and then get exposed in the playoffs? And I don't even know if they're going to win that many games because I'm saying as many as they did last season in the regular season. Not that that matters. Winning the division is always the goal, but I prefer going farther and seeing this team compete and go the distance. But why did they struggle down the stretch? Well, maybe. And it wasn't down the stretch. It was for a significant amount of time in the middle parts of the season, all the way through the back end. But it was maybe because of how much they were getting overworked in the beginning of the year. So look for some guys to sit early in the season. Oh, great. Now we're going to get Garrett Stubbs games 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 with Cody Clemens playing 70% of the games. What are we doing? That's not why guys weren't performing. It's because I think, one, the approach is abysmal. They clearly tried to do way too much when they're at the plate. It was so painful to watch some of the NLCS, which I didn't think I would be able to do. But here I am. I'm going to watch it. And it's great when the Dodgers are kicking ass. But, man, is it aggravating to see Vientos or a grand slam. I mean, I want to vomit. Because we have the talent, in theory, to be able to at least look a little bit better and a little bit more structured like they do. But maybe I'm wrong. Because the moral of the story I was getting at is, listen, when I get to the broadcast and hear the Dodgers being discussed about how poised and patient they are and how they don't swing out of their shoes, and when the pitch isn't in the box, they're not chasing after it. And here's Senga on the bump for the New York Mets. I'm like, maybe they just aren't that good. Maybe they just aren't that good. Maybe these players aren't that good. And if that's the case, don't they have to recognize that instead of running it back? I just kept hearing excuses. Well, the Braves won a lot of division titles, but this team, this team has a couple more runs at it before we get to that pace, because, you win X amount of division titles, you only have one World Series. That's sort of how he was laying out the situation for the Braves. He goes, well, we look at ourselves similar to that. We got to keep getting at this thing. And trust me, I get it. There is truth to that, and I even mentioned that in the past. But you are the president of baseball operations, looking at a fan base that is broken, looking at a fan base that is frustrated. Even if you think there's truth to that, that's one that you keep behind closed doors. There's no reason that's what you do. That's sticking your chest out, almost saying like, what I did wasn't that bad. We just have to have more time. But that's foolish. And that's how they're acting right now. Sometimes you play well, sometimes you don't. That's literally a quote from the president of baseball operations today. When you are a division winner losing to a rival in your division in the first round of the playoffs. When your offense was non-existent. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. What else did he say I hated? It's about getting a break at the right time. So you're basing all of this, everything that goes down over 162 next year, and whatever happens in the playoffs, in your eyes, just comes down to, did you get a bounce or not? Did you get a break that went your way? Not approach, not attention to detail, not playing the game the right way, not learning how to do things on the base paths, not knowing how to get a rundown effective. When you catch somebody in the base paths, they're always sloppy as hell whenever it comes to base paths in general. No, that's not what's about. Just we'll throw it all out there. We'll see what happens over the long months. Try and keep everybody healthy, and then just hope and pray that we'll be okay. Well, that's never going to work. That's a loser attitude. That's a loser way of thinking. But they were building in all sorts of excuses like that. It didn't break our way. Or you're doing something wrong and putting your team at a disadvantage. How about this one? I love this one from Topper. In regards to Alec Boehm and how he had a disappointing second half. Well, if you actually compare it to his second half of last year, it was better. So it steps in the right direction. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? One of the biggest crybabies in the history of the sport is pouting again. At the age of 28, he'll be 29 next season, and tears are flowing down his face because he can't comprehend the emotions of a playoff game in October. And I'm supposed to sit here and say, hey, at least that trash garbage was better than his trash garbage last year. Instead of saying, we got trash garbage twice, right? No, once we got trash garbage twice, it was, that trash wasn't as bad as last year's trash. What are we doing? And I'm not stupid. I get that you can't play your hand publicly. Meaning, if you want to trade somebody, if you're working things out, you do that behind the scenes, and you're not just going to sit down day one, first time in front of the press, and say, yeah, Boehm's out of here. Or, yeah, player X, Y, and Z is gone. That's not how you operate, and I understand. But the general sense that I got here was they are really happy about their team. They really love their veterans. They didn't think that there was an issue with any of the coaching at all, which is crazy to me. Crazy. Yes, the players are the ones that are in the box and swinging or not swinging, but we have been through Kevin Long for a long-ass time now to know that there is a correlation between what he is teaching this team and why we are failing as miserably as we are. And if he is telling Trey Turner, you got to do something differently, if you are telling Stott or any of these other guys that didn't live up to their expectations to do other things, and they are not, whether it's fair or not, you get rid of the hitting coach because the message isn't getting delivered. You can't trade every player. You can have a good message as a coach, and if the message isn't hitting, well, I would love to get rid of 5 or 6 guys that aren't paying the hell attention and working on the craft properly. But after so many years, if the goal isn't getting accomplished, somebody has to pay for it. And they are almost letting that slide. I feel that players take the initiative when someone gets fired because of their own failures. That's a look in the mirror type of moment. Look, I got Kevin Love. Arguably, what the league would say is a top premier hitting coach. He's gone because of me. You think you take some pride of like, hey man, I got to dig deep. I need a wake-up call. Was there any sense of a wake-up call from that? It almost allowed everybody to get off the hook. What you did was okay. Maybe it wasn't okay. It wasn't good enough, but it wasn't as bad as what's being perceived. We'll be okay. Ooh. That's sort of been my knock on Rob Thomson. And this is farther than just Rob Thomson, by the way. This is John Middleton, Dave Dombrowski, because John Middleton is allowing Dave Dombrowski to sort of have this view. You can't have this view. You can't have this view. You can't have this view. This view is damning. It's damning. It's tone deaf, some would say. So yeah, I'm looking above Rob. But my issues under this regime with Rob is it's so ho-hum. It's so laissez-faire. It's so, we'll be okay. They're doubling down on the it's going to be okay. Well, we did better than the Mets did chasing. Well, Bohm isn't as bad as he was last year. What else was there? I mean, are you kidding me? Sometimes you play well, sometimes you don't. What is that? We're a hungry damn fan base trying to go out and win a World Series. Do you really want your damn trophy back or not? Because I'm starting to have some serious questions on how badly the owner wants it. Because you can't let this slop slide. You can't. That was one of the most pathetic press conferences ever. In regards to a team that has this type of roster, a team that has this type of aspirations, a team that underachieved after the last couple of years of having some fun. It's crazy. One thing I demand, and I think it's inevitable at this point, though, is I do demand a lineup change. And being whoa, as you can tell, my mind is everywhere. But as a huge Kyle Schwarber supporter, I need a change. I don't want Trey Turner up top. I don't like that. I don't think he deserves more at bats. I want Bryce Harper to bat leadoff. I want the brand of this baseball team is it starts with Bryce Harper. Now, of course, if he doesn't feel comfortable, he likes batting third, that's what he wants to do, fine. But I would almost like a kick in the ass, though, of, hey, that's cute that you like this. It's not about cute anymore. We need a different sense of urgency. What's best for this team, Bryce? You at leadoff. I know you can do it. You know you can do it. Let's stop with this nonsense of I'm playing here. Yo, let's go. Let's go. I want urgency. Although, I'm begging for urgency with Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thomson. It's crazy. Oh, don't even get me started. You know what? Man, just more keep popping into my head of disappointment. Let me tell you guys something that doesn't disappoint me first, though. And that's garage beer, baby. There's nothing better. It's 100% quality. It is so damn electric. You don't got to worry about IPA. There's no bitterness. It is pure, outstanding, fantastic beer. Make sure you check out drinkgaragebeer.com. The link is down below in the description. It's my favorite beer of all time. Also, hello, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. We break down Philly sports every day here. Through the pain, through the laughs, through the excitement, here we are. Join the family. You can also take me on the road with you by going to Apple Podcast and Spotify. And if you search Broads Media or Sports Talk with Broads, you can leave a 5-star rating, subscribe over there as well. You guys are the greatest. Okay, back to what disappoints me. This man, Dave Dombrowski, truly doubled down on his deadline. He liked his deadline. Your deadline sucked. Your deadline sucked previously. Your deadlines have sucked. When are you going to get it through your thick skull? Oh, I really liked Estevez until that final pitch against Lindor. What? You mean when he gave up a grand slam? That's a big moment in the playoffs. You like the guy, thought he did good. He gave up a grand slam to Francisco Lindor. And while he was put into a really tough situation, it didn't need to be a grand slam. I don't know if the Phillies would have came back if he only allowed 2 runs instead of 4, excuse me. I don't know. Maybe not, because their offense stinks. But he wasn't that good. He wasn't that good. Hoffman wasn't good. Strom wasn't good. Now, they're not acquisitions at the deadline, but they weren't good. Estevez wasn't good enough. Because he was the only guy to have a productive inning early in the playoffs. Here we are, one solid effort. We go, yeah, baby. That's why we got him in here. But then he can fail the rest of the way. He wasn't good. Austin Hayes wasn't good. And he even admitted that Tanner Banks was never going to be a late option anyway. So you just got a fill-in random 5th inning guy, Austin Hayes, who isn't nearly as skilled as you think he is, regardless of all the issues that he had to deal with, which some of them are just out of his control. With the kidney stuff and all, I'd be lying if I said I really dove deep into everything that was happening with his injuries. There were too many to even comprehend. I couldn't even digest it all. It was so many. But some of it out of his control. But he's still not as great as Dave Dombrowski thinks he is. Now we're talking about Rojas and him bunting and getting some time in the spring. Oh, my God, bunting. I'm talking about Rojas bunting. It's crazy. What else? Walker fighting for his job. Woohoo. He's probably going to make the team and then be your 5th starter. What else do we got? Yeah. What's so damning is the tone, and what's so damning is even here thinking we got to get them to buy in. Well, if they're not bought in, then your messaging's not working and you have the wrong players. It's probably a combination of both. If these players are unwilling, that's an issue. And if you're trying to get it through to them that we need to start doing different things, and if they are not leaning into it or buying into it, then you have problems with either the messaging or them or a mixture of both. So why do I feel if that's the case that all we have to do is run it back and everything's going to be fantastic just because you won 95 regular season games? And I don't think you're going to win 95 games next year because I don't think you can duplicate that amazing stretch. And I don't think they're going to be consistent with the way that their offense is built, especially with the way their infield is with Trey Turner at shortstop. He's a joke. I doubt they pick up any outfield help that I think is going to be super tremendous. They're going to have an up and down offense again. So with that being the case, they're not going to sustain great play over 162. They're not going to win 95 games next year. So, not that the win total doesn't even matter. Win total doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant. But I'm just trying to think of who are they going to be next year? I'll tell you. Probably similar to this team than the others. Because now there's so much more pressure on them to not be like those failures that it's different. When you have the first year and it came out of nowhere, it's fun. The spark is there. It's easy to smile. It's easy to see the fan base connect with you. Same thing with the second year prior to Game 6 and Game 7 at home. I think there was a lot of good mojo. After this year, it reflects right back to the Eagles. It doesn't change for the team. It doesn't change for the people. Nick Sirianni, I don't like. I like Dave Dombrowski. I'm starting to not, but I like Dave more than I like Nick. Starting to not. Once something happens to the foundation, you can't go back to who you were before the foundation broke. This group, this core, is no longer facing the same level of criticism, no longer facing the same style of expectations. Once you lose to the NLDS, no, the expectation is the same. I think I phrased that wrong. But my point is, once you lose to the Mets in the NLDS in round 1, you don't even advance. I call that round 1, not the wild card. I call the NLDS round 1. It changes everything surrounding who you are. And now there is a whole new wave of urgency, attention to detail, expectations. There's this nastiness in the air that you have to fight through. And I'm not necessarily sure if they are capable of fighting through that. Do I think I have more confidence in this group doing it than the Eagles doing it after the 2023 collapse? Yes. Yes. But that more tells you how badly I feel about Nick Sirianni, more than it does me believing in the Phillies. Quite frankly, I think the answer is both of them can't get back on track, for whatever that's worth. All right. We got some phone calls on the Anytime Hotline reacting to the press conferences. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Birds. I just listened to Dave Dombrowski. There were a few things I liked. I mean, I'm personally fine with keeping Rob Thomson because I do think stability at the manager position is very important, and he has had success here when he's been here the first 3 years. The main thing that I didn't like was Alec Boehm. Dave seems to act as if he's like on the same level of players like Nick Castellanos or Kyle Schwarber. And I guess he's a good player, but he cannot be a Philadelphia Philly next year. He has lost the city, he has lost the fans, and most importantly, I think he's lost the team. One idea that I would entertain personally, going to get Nolan Arenado from the St. Louis Cardinals. Personally, I think Alec Boehm could be a good fit in St. Louis. You know, he needs a new team. Cardinals have not had success over the past few years. And then for us, I think Nolan Arenado, from a production standpoint, he's not that much better than Alec Boehm. But, like, the leadership that he brings, you know, the maturity, the veteran presence, and also the fact that he's an elite defender, I just think he would cause the rest of the team to just believe in this guy. Like, Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos, they can trust him. They can trust him a lot more than Alec Boehm. Okay, and I think, you know, I just think that he would bring so much more to the team than a guy like Alec Boehm would. And it doesn't even have to be Arenado. That's just a name I threw out there. And any veteran presence, you know, who can still be an offensive threat, I think would be a great fit. Let me know what you think, bros. Looking forward to hearing you soon.
I appreciate the call. Let's start with the Rob thing first. I don't think it's egregious to bring back Rob Thomson. My stance on Rob, I was kind of dancing back and forth right after the season ended. I said I'd lean towards doing it because I don't know roster-wise if you could have a big enough shakeup where by default it might have to be Rob who loses his job when he doesn't deserve to. That's sort of how I laid it out. And Rob has flaws, by the way. When I say he doesn't deserve to be fired, it's not like, whoa, he messed up here, he messed up there. Every manager has mess-ups. There's no manager that never messes up ever. He messes up, and he messed up with Hoffman in the sixth inning in that final game that was really egregious, and Rob has had his mess-ups, but I still think that he deserves to be the manager of this team. The only reason why I would have canned him is because you can't change enough of the players because you need to change that much of the players. The only way the way I wanted to do this, and I did a whole show on WIP about it, I put the listeners in the shoes of Dave Dombrowski. And I said, if you are going to be able to be the one to make decisions, what do you do? And I laid out, I'd fire Kevin Long, I would trade Alec Boehm, and I would trade Nick Castellanos, having someone pounce on his hot playoff run, because he describes the issue with this team. This team's biggest issue is they chase too much, and he just goes up there, has no approach, batting practice, we'll see what happens, and I want a team to hop on the Nick Castellanos train when the iron's hot, if you will. Just like the Phillies did his final year in Cincinnati. That year is a standout. I think this playoff run is a standout. I would try and move him. Those would be my three moves. If you could only trade one of Boehm or Nick, so one has to stay, that's when the Nick conversation would re-enter. And I'd say, all right, if just Boehm is gone and Kevin Long, is that enough? No. Put Rob in there too. Kevin, Nick, Boehm, Rob stays. Kevin, just Boehm, Rob goes. That was sort of my mentality with it. I want a major shakeup to the core. And this is why I'm very frustrated, because we got the complete opposite of what I wanted. I'm okay with Rob staying, though. I don't think it's this. Look, based off of everything we heard today, Rob Thomson staying is not the biggest problem. The Nolan Arenado stuff, here's where I'm at with just veteran players, 34 years old, guys of that age bracket. I don't know. I feel I'm sick and tired of chasing the big names. That may sound stupid. I'm just tired of it. Nick didn't pan out. Trey's not going to pan out. Kyle did. Bryce did. JT, he's been okay. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been like world beater either. So I would say of the 5 massive contracts you handed out from an everyday player level, 3 of them didn't hit the way I wanted them to. 2 did. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of sick and tired. Now, I would want Juan Soto. It's a little different. Juan Soto falls more into the Bryce Harper category where you can't miss on that, right? That's not a miss. You can't miss on Juan Soto. They're not going out and getting them. They said stars aren't necessary right now, and realistically, they're not right. You can't just look, as much as I want to, if your organization just like 300 million, 300 million, 300 million, 300, you know what you get? What we're dealing with now. What we're dealing with now. I think a part of the problem that we have right now is we just did that. You got to build a team. I actually want them to let loose some guys, say goodbye, and bring in like veterans, but a different style of veterans. Iglesias, for example, of the Mets. Guy's been around a while. He goes to the Mets. I want someone who has played enough. He's just a pro. I want pros. So who's batting 7th, 8th, 9th? Just pros. Someone who's 31, played for 3 different teams, played, in 3 or 4 different organizations, making a couple different playoff runs, and he bats a solid 268. And you just know what you're getting. He's consistent. He brings good presence to the clubhouse. I want a few more of them to mix in with the Bryces of the world. I want to build a team. That's the way I sort of look at it. Which is crazy because I always wanted superstar power. But, it hasn't panned out. I already got bit by that. Let's go to Amadeo.
The fact that the Phillies have not fired anybody on the coaching staff is fully going to the extent that they believe everything that went wrong is a player issue. And yes, that is true to a certain extent. Kevin Long should not have been back because just get a new coaching staff hitting-wise to maybe change some philosophies so it goes away from the massive swing rate issues that this team has. It's unreal that he's still here. And my only thought on this entire thing on why Kevin Long is still here, they're grasping at every single straw possible to try and convince Juan Soto to sign here. They got all of his buddies. They got Trey Turner. They got Bryce Harper. They got Kyle Schwarber. They got all of his Nationals buddies. They got Kevin Long, who Juan Soto loves, apparently. They're grasping at all of those straws to convince Soto to sign here. I have no idea it's going to happen. I'm sure John Middleton is going to do whatever possible to try to pay Juan Soto, but he's going to go up against the Yankees. He's going to be going up against the Mets and maybe the Dodgers as well, but I would assume more the Yankees and the Mets.
Here's what I'll say, excuse me, about the combination or the marriage of Juan Soto with Kevin Long. If, and I know this sounds hypocritical, just saying I don't want to go splashy and get all the big names. Juan Soto's different, though. If keeping Kevin Long does equal Juan Soto being here, justified. I don't think that's going to happen. But if they land Juan Soto and Kevin Long was a piece to that, then he is worth keeping. So I better see Juan Soto in a Phillies uniform next year. That's what it comes down to. By the way, I hate to break it to you, we won't. All right, that's going to do it. As this lovely baseball team just continues to stick daggers in my chest. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'll catch you on the next one.